Hello viewers, I'm SB, and I'm feeling absolutely lousy. Welcome back to a solitaire mystery, which I'm sure is going to cheer me up. You know what, let's go back and give Lock Solitaire a swing here. If I need to be cheered up, what we should definitely do is play the kind of solitaire that makes me look like a total idiot. That said, we've been gifted what feels like a pretty lucky draw here. I guess I did that unthinkingly, and I should never be doing anything unthinkingly in this mode. Let me take it back to the beginning. Like, let's actually think about like the consequences of our actions and stuff. We should be, if we're gonna do that, we need to move the spade 2 over first so that we can make room for the spade 3 later. We can. I do think this is probably right. And then as far as having more plays to make, cards are stacked in the middle slots in alternating red-blue, either ascending or descending, and the direction can change in the middle of the stack. Okay. Gotta keep these all straight, all different from one another. We can move this over here, which I guess does reduce the pressure on one of our 2s. We can take that movement, or take that moment to banish that 3. And then red 8 sits over here very comfortably. And then this stack is mostly higher value cards, so it does, I think, behoove me to try to build onto that where we can. So that gets me another 2. The last 2 is really not that much deeper. Let's see here. That 4 of spades, we could play the 4 and the 4 of spades and the 5 of spades straight out of the pool, which is pretty good. Where is my 2 of diamonds? It's right. I was right. I was just looking at that. Okay, I do think this makes sense. Then this, but remember we have to wait before we can play the 5. Have to find something else productive to do. Obviously, moving this 6 onto that 5, not the kind of productive that I'm talking about. The 6 sits on this 5 very naturally, but it does not. You know, obviously that's burying some of my options. Where is the 3 of... Okay, 3 of clubs is right under this, unfortunately. I could just move the 5 of spades to the side, right? We have a couple of extra slots here for exactly this kind of thing, I imagine. Oh, except getting that 3 doesn't do anything right now. What am I talking about? I'm not even excited about that. What I am excited about is, I guess, moving this stuff to the side. We could like take the 7, 8, 9 and just get it off of that. Maybe. I think moving this 4 over here. Well, whatever. So we do this. Then we move this 4 over to here, which gives me the ability to peel some cards. The 4 goes as well soon. Because we only have higher value stuff here, I can just move this back onto there, which seems pretty okay. All right. Now let's try to finish accessing our 2s. So, red 7s and 5s are in pretty short supply for this blue 6 here. Let's just set the blue 6 aside, I guess, for a moment. We'll end up making use of it soon. 4 goes in here. This 5 can come off to there. Now, obviously, I'm loath to move the 11 over to take up the last of the empty slots, especially with no obvious way to move it back. A red 5 or a red 7 would let me move this whole 6 through 9 stack. One of the red 7s is in the stack already, of course, and the other one's over there. As far as 5s go, there's one there. I guess for the moment, the red 6 could come over and live on either of the blue 7s. And then we have this blue 12 that we have nothing to do with, and a blue 11 that we have nothing to do with, just sort of squatting in their cells. I don't like that very much. Well, okay, here's an idea. If I move this to here now, just to open up time a little bit. Okay. I run this there to get that timer started. Okay, do that. Then I move this 6 onto here. So we can lock that stack for a second, it's fine. This does actually allow me to get this 12 out of the way for the moment. Put it in a position where it's like maybe not like the best spot for it in the longest term, but it's good now. Is there something I can do? I guess I can just like swap which stack this is in. I don't think I intend to use this piece. Like, I definitely don't intend to use this piece. So this is just a buying time move to allow me to move this 5 onto here so that we can do that. And then I guess as long as you have an open slot and a 1 card, like you can do an infinite number of buying time moves without ever needing to actually change the board state in any meaningful way, which is pretty cool. So there's a 5 of diamonds. Yeah, no, it's interesting because we can go like 10 off of here. 5. That 5 is going to be waiting a while to be able to get moved out, which is a shame. I pull this 11 to the side. I want to get access to the cards below, right? We're about to unlock this big stack that I don't really know what to do with. I put this 10 over here. Like what I want to do is eventually move that 9 onto that 10. We have to be able to find a way to spend 2 more turns. Because you don't actually get infinite free movements, right? If I move the 6 over, say, as an example here, move all this stuff onto the 10, we can use this as a spacer, but we have to, right? At this moment, I wouldn't be able to move the 6 back just to spend time. So we do need to be thinking about how that works. So we want to be able to move this 10 onto that 11. If I move this 6, we can't, like, moving this 10 onto this 11 after moving this 6 unfortunately doesn't let me move the 5 onto the 6 because it's locked for another turn. So I need to have another productive move to do afterward. Well, I guess I have one. Right, so okay, move the 6 over to buy time so that we can unite onto this, and then we can move this 6 onto this 5 with the intention of moving it onto there later. Or I could just get rid of the... You know what? Totally spaced on the fact that I could just get rid of the 5. That's a showing face right now. Yeah, I think actually that makes a ton of sense. Also, that 6 could have gone in the... Okay. That's probably what I should do now. Okay, so we're making it. We're making it. It's happening slowly. We got to get to this 3. This 3 is mucking everything up. So, to do that... Moving this out to here leaves us with a red 10 that's kind of awkward to work with. Well, it's sitting on a blue 9. It can be moved with its blue 9, although the red 8s are a little spoken for. Actually, okay, so let's move this off to the side. This allows me to move this 13 over here. And then pull the 9 onto this red 8, which is just sitting open. Okay. Now my red 12 is underneath some stuff. We are going to need to buy some time, I think. So what I would like here is the ability to condense a little bit more. Because we are... Okay, if we move the 10 over to here, then we move this 12 onto that, then I just need to make like a noise move basically here. We don't need this move to do anything necessarily. I just need to spend a time unit. Well, I need to spend 2 time units because the goal is to get this 13 on top of that 12, thus creating empty, more available space, right? I guess we can do that by doing this. And now we just have to absorb the 7 and the 10 into the circus of values. So this is one big movable stack. This breaks down here. So if we put this over here, we can then put you to work there. Move this 11 onto this 10 to free the 8. Well, I should probably, actually pull values off of the stacks where I can. Okay, and we've almost got this. We've almost got this figured out. If we move this 11... Thing is, I gotta start unwinding the backwards ones. They're handy for a little while, but they become troublesome. So this one is a stack up to here. The 13 is rogue. Okay. I know what I just said, but I think I'm going to do that. Pull the 13 to the side. Score this. So that we can... I'm sure I had a plan. What was it? I mean, obviously I can move this stack onto here to create space. I was hoping to just move that 12 onto that 13, but things have become a little odd, timing-wise. And we don't have the extra space to play with necessarily right now. I need to get to the blue 6s. So yeah, at some point here we have to just start right side upping the remaining cards. Or the, you know, the cards from the stacks. They have to get reversed. So let's start now, because there's a number of there's a number of moves we can make here to buy time. But also because we're trying to fix such a large number of stacks at the same time, you know, we can let them tick each other out a little bit. So this 9 ends up here, allowing this 12 to go to here. We'll just have a 12 that's kind of in the wrong spot for a minute. It's fine. Allowing us to move the 11 onto here. Freeing up this 8 onto there. Letting me run this over to here, and as such this over to here. 13 goes there, so we can move this 10 to that 11, freeing up this and thus that. Okay, and you can see it's coming along. The project is working here, and we're starting to get close to the values that we're going to start being able to put back in the stacks too. In fact, here's a great example. This opens up that and that, which lets us place this. Buys us the time for things to cool down. Although I probably shouldn't have done that way. I probably should have started reversing some things earlier. All right, where's my last 11? My last out of stack 11 is over there. Okay, so, because this stack is in the right order down to the 6. So we're gonna have to fix that. But we can do, yeah, we can do this here. Pull this 10 onto there. I may as well do this. And then this lets us drop a diamond and then a spade, and I think that's it. I think it's over. So actually, auto stack should just do it from here. Yeah, okay. Hey, look at that. Good to start the day off with a victory. What's up next? Swap-a-taire. That's probably supposed to be tear, but maybe the idea is that the letters... Oh yeah, this says SOP. So the idea is that the letters have been swapped around. A variant of chaotic solitaire. Every time you move a card, it swaps places with the card you moved before that. More manageable, still fairly rough. Technically doable with a standard deck, the swapping would be really annoying to keep track of. I agree with you. I think it's going to be annoying to keep track of here. So when we move a card, it's going to switch places with the card that we moved right before that. I hate that. Descending order, alternating suit. Values don't need to be adjacent. It swaps with the last card moved before it if possible. When moving a card, only the stack, only the topmost card is considered. A card placed in the slots to the right won't be eligible for swapping, but what that doesn't tell us is what happens in those cases. Like, just to test something, For example, if we put this 2 down, okay, then I move the ace over. Does this mean that the next card we play swaps with the 2? Or does it not swap because the last played card was not eligible? The answer is it swaps with the 2. Okay. That's important to know. Okay, so we have an ace under that 10 that I would love to get rid of. Or an ace under the 10 that I would love to claim, obviously. The other ace is fairly deep in pile 3. It's accessible. So if I move this 2 onto this 4, the 6 then teleports on there, and I think that's fine. Then moving the 10 onto here swaps the 2 onto the king, which is extremely whatever. Get out of my way. Okay. The next thing I put down is going to swap with the 10. Unless it is the 10. What happens if I move the 10? Just nothing happen? Yeah, nothing happens. So that's handy. That's a cool way of establishing some control. It does mean that we will never in this game be able to teleport a king off the top of a pile. So we do have to be careful about our open slots. I do not love the number of 6s that we already have showing. 2 of hearts is just a little bit deeper in this pile that we're working on. This 6 is really kind of a bummer right now. All right, let's move this here. So it'll swap the 10 to the top of the stack. And we can just pile garbage on top of that king for a while. But unfortunately, it's very hard to pile blue garbage, which is the kind we most need to be able to move right now. All right, if I do this, then we can put a reasonably high card over here. Oh, right, I can't. I can't while that is the high value. Yeah, shit. So the next card I put down is going to swap places with the 4 of hearts, huh? That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, let's... Very reluctant to use this 2 now. To touch the 2. Because touching the 2 causes it to fly off into some bizarre place. Okay, that lets us bury that 6 good and deep. The fact that every card I put down ends up teleporting to the fucking base of the tower is a real nightmare. In order for that not to happen, like, I need to engineer a situation where I can move multiple cards at once. But unfortunately, the values showing on everything are really counterproductive here. I can't put you on anything. I can't move multiple cards at once because the values that I need to move are the showing values on everything are too goddamn low. So if we unveil the 9, right, I need to place on something higher than the 6. All right, We just have to use the 2. This is very bad. So we're going to swap the 6 of spades out. Okay, we can move this pile, this card off of this pile now that we have the 8 available. But because I can't move a king onto anything, and the king's, like, the teleportation doesn't actually help us with that, it's like I need to move all of these cards out, basically. We had to create a situation where there was something I could move a 9 onto to get rid of the 9. But now the 9's going to be back. Alright, that lets me move these 2 cards together. Which does let me do that, at least. And then we could move 2 cards together over here. Now that we've shortened this pile a little bit. So 9 is going to swap the 6 of hearts up onto the king. And we're not going to have a place to be able to put the 7. God, I really need these not to be the same suit. I need this 9 to be a different suit than both of my high cards. Well, I guess we have a place to put the 7 now. So this is less egregious. The 10, however, remains a problem. We're getting so close to having dug out another slot. But I need... Yeah, now I need to be able to move the 8, but there's no way to move the 8. So we have to get to that jack. This is pretty challenging. Okay, so if we put this 9 over here for a second, we stick the 9 in a spot where it's just kind of out of the way. That lets me move the 8 to the side, which lets me clear some cards off of this stack. I wish these weren't the same because I would love to be able to remove them all at once. And of course, the king I was trying to remove is the same suit as this, so that sucks. We'll have to dig down to this queen, I guess. So we got to reliably pull cards out of this pile, which is going to mean... Doing this will put the 5 on here, which will let me move these 2 cards together. That creates a pretty reasonable stack, I think. And then 6 onto here, allows for 6 onto there, allows for queen onto king. Queen getting swapped to a reasonably valuable location, and that 6 is the wrong damn color. Oh, we're so close. We're so close to this too. Everything's kind of the wrong color right now. All right, I just needed the ability to remove the 6 so that we could do this. I don't really want it to swap with that 6, but actually it's kind of fine. That goes there, and then we're so close to that ace now. I mean, that's where we're going, right? But unfortunately, all right, you're the wrong suit. Let's go 2 onto here, allowing me to put my 6 on here so we can move this king out. And then the king's coming back, and I really wish I could just stack it on top of that king, but of course, nothing is the right color for anything when I need it to be. Okay, we finally got all of our aces. Look at that. We're living the dream, friends. Okay. Next concerns. Well, there's a 2 and a 3 in this pile, pretty close together. So we can move the king down, which will swap the 6. All we really need is to be able to move this jack. Now, is the best way to do this... This is actually getting a little awkward with the number of showing clubs. Well... We can do... No, I don't want that 4 teleporting deep into a stack somewhere. But it is actually the only card I can move, isn't it? Well, we're just going to teleport it back out in a second anyway. I don't know what I'm worried about. Okay. Good stuff, good stuff. New question. How do we want to move this king out of here? Because we need to access 3s in that column. Yeah, 3s and 5s are what we're looking for, and yeah, this is the column for it. So I need to make a space to put this king. Right, I forgot I was going to be creating a impenetrable wall of clubs. It is very frustrating that anything that we put on top of this king of spades turns into a jack of spades. Okay. Now we can move this jack. It's going to take a little bit of setup. All right, the 5 just goes straight in here. The 8 is fine because it's going to teleport a non-spades jack. So we get to do that. Okay, cool. Now, we just need to start digging again. This is a really tedious way to do this, and I do not like it. Of course, the jack for the 10 to move on to is the same suit. Everything's the wrong damn suit. Actually, I guess the best thing would be for me to be able to move this whole stack of cards, right? Okay. And then unfortunately this queen is like really inconvenient. Okay, if we move this stuff aside. Right. That's part of the reason that was inconvenient, is that it's not actually feasible to move the queen down there. So we put you up here, which gives us a place to teleport the 6 to. We do that, and my 5 of hearts ends up in a place where I'm never going to be able to retrieve it, but it's kind of whatever. One problem at a time, as they say. Okay, so move the 5 here to allow us to move the 9 here, so that we now have room for the other king to stop being in the middle of a stack, which is pretty good news for the king. If I move this 5 to here and this 6 to here, we can grab this jack and move to there. Put you there. All right. All of our kings are sorted down. Not exactly where we'd like for them to be, but they're out of the way at least. This queen is going to be reliant on this 7 getting out of the way, which is going to be reliant on everybody else making way. How do I want to... Yeah, this is fine. Then put the jack up here. That 7's actually a real problem. Yeah, no, I fucked up there. And it's going to be annoying to fix. So I don't want to change queens to that queen. I guess actually what I can do is move this whole stack to buy space. And then there is a non-spade king for me to place the jack on temporarily, so that we have time to move things around. That's just going to put the jack of hearts back on you. So let's change this to this. Okay, and then I can't put the 5 of hearts on top of the queen either, obviously. But I can do this. Move you onto the queen, and then move the queen down onto the king. Okay. Now we're still trying to... We're seeking these 4s in here. The 6 for the diamonds and the 6 for the spades are right there as well. So it's just a matter of getting access to them, and I've put myself in a bit of a position hearts-wise. It's just a shit ton of hearts showing all over the place here. Okay, so we could afford to let the 9 of hearts swap like this to get our jack to here. Which does then let me pull some things out of the way. Right, and we're slowly making headway toward these cards. It's just that the 8s and stuff are kind of awkward to deal with. So yeah, that's gonna have to go up there. Alright, we're about to unveil a place to put an 8, except I'm kind of not. Alright, we have to move this over here. Because if I'd put the 6 over there, the 7 of hearts on top of the 8 of hearts obviously is a big problem. It just completely locks that stack for a while. Okay, here we go. Move this 5 down to here to leave us with a 7 that can play onto either of these 8s, and I don't know that it matters terribly which. And then we get to run a bunch of cards off the stacks, which is awesome. We need that 7 now, which is a little awkward. Okay, so I need to uncover my king. Okay, we're getting some pretty deep progress on some of these colors. 6, move the 8 to the side to allow me to process the 7 and then the 8 on this one. Our diamond 7 is in there, which is not ideal. So I need to move this 10 out onto the queen, allowing us to, shoot, wrong suit. There we go, allowing us to access 7, 8, 9. King is clear again. That's a really annoying teleport. And then we have a bit here that's tucked in backwards. That's not my doing, that's the way they were spawned. Okay. Yeah, let's hope that that's the last of the teleporty ones. The non-random teleporting is less annoying for sure, but it's still just not fun to play. It does mean that you like kind of can't lose. Hanoi Solitaire, a solitaire where you move cards and stacks around using logic reminiscent of the classic Towers of Hanoi puzzle. And if you're not familiar with that puzzle by name, you probably have seen it before. It's the puzzle with the way it's usually represented is there's like a couple of posts, and then little wooden donuts of different sizes are set on the posts, and you have to move them around without ever letting a donut that is larger than the one below it, without ever placing a donut onto a donut that is larger than the one below it. Okay, so make 4 piles, running in descending order from K to A. You can stack cards and move them in descending order. For cards with a matching suit, the values don't need to be adjacent. Okay, that's interesting. The slots form a 3x2 grid. When moving a card/stack, it moves 1 slot at a time on the grid. You can only move a card or stack onto a slot if the topmost card of that slot has a higher value than the card you're moving. And we have to remember, they think when they say topmost, they mean z-axis, right? The topmost card of that slot has a higher value than the card you're moving, or the bottommost card of the stack you're moving. Higher value. Yeah, so you're putting small stuff goes on to large stuff, not the other way around. Okay. So when it says 1 slot, okay, I'm allowed to move them either way. Actually, it looks like it'll let me put it here. No, it won't. It lets me mouse it over there for some reason. Huh. No, it did let me. That's not... It moves 1 slot at a time. You can only move a card or stack... Oh, I guess it means when it says it moves 1 card at a time, it's referring to, like, even if I want to drop it here, which is more than 1 slot away, I have to be able to trace a path of cards where it's larger than the top or smaller than the top card of... Okay. I don't know. I guess that's fine. So, where is a king? Sending from K to A. So we need to... the logic on this one is basically backwards from normal solitaire. I need to get an open slot, get a king. We don't care about our 2s and aces until the very, very end. Unfortunately, all the kings are super buried. Suppose I could have assumed. members of the same suit. The stack types don't have to have adjacency, or the values don't have to have adjacency. Take advantage of that right now. Okay, yeah, see. So we can trace a path from here to here by going over the middle, but it wouldn't let me go through the corner. The idea that you're tracing a path at all is kind of strange. Okay, so in order to move this jack now, we have to have an exposed king or queen or open space. How am I going to do that? Well, if we move the 2 here, never mind. Thought I had a thought, but it doesn't actually work. Strictly descending. Okay. I guess it doesn't matter if they're in the... if they're not strictly descending, if they're not the same thing. Huh. Oh, right, because it's not... I had to put it down in a place where it's adjacent. Okay, so pull this over to here, and then we can pull this back to here. That lets me move the jack pile to there. These 6s can go onto here. Actually, what am I doing? The 10 should go onto there. All right, that lets me move this 7. Here, we can use the middle path to do this. This ace should obviously trivially go here. Then we can move our jack onto there. So you can move a portion, like, this counts as a legal stack, even though it is of mixed suit, and there's a continuity break, because of the fact that the continuity break is all the same suit. That's interesting. Okay. So it's actually not that hard to, like, sort the cards into their own suits, just the way the movement works. Although it gets tricky, like when you get like this. I have created a stack of cards that's actually going to be hard to move around because of how high the top value is. So yeah, let's pull these up here. We can put the 2 on there and pull the 4 to there. The 8 could be... Well, what I should do here is move the 4. Oh, the 4 is not actually higher than that 4. That's annoying. All right, move you like this so that I can pull this to here. And then... So by making by getting the small values onto the stacks, I'm actually making it very difficult to pass cards by them. So what I need to do actually is probably try to I need to set up like my 4 meaningful stacks in the corners so that we have the interior space to traverse. And I may have already fucked this up so badly that it's not recoverable. That's a real possibility. Because like at this point, it's super hard to move an 8 around. Okay, we can put this here for the moment because it matches the suit. Or because it's a single unit away. Now see, like, there's no way to move this 5 because it's bigger than all the stuff around it. Can I get this 4 out of the way? I can't. Trying to figure out if there's a way to salvage this. Or do I need to have been more thoughtful with the way I was positioning the cards earlier? If we grab this 4, pull it down here, then that lets me move this 5 over to here. Nice continuous sequence. And thus, I can move cards through the 8 pretty easily. But I need a place to like store this so that I can move the 6 and the 5 onto the 8 and then bring the 4 back. And that kind of stuff we're a little short on. Yeah. I think I might just be doomed. Because how am I ever going to get this jack out of here? Let me take it from the top again here and try to be very careful and thoughtful about where the kings end up. Stuff like that. We do want to try to free these 2 middle slots, and we don't want to be building heavily in them. So this slot could just be our diamonds, right? It's got to start going already. So this will need to be placed here, I guess. And we can leave like a 10 at the top of this for facilitation. And my plan is to get this king of spades over to either the right or the left, whichever way wants to open to us more. The problem is this 10 is stuck. So if I leave these like this, now we have a queen in that position. That's going to make it a lot easier to move things through there, but it still doesn't resolve this problem. And this ace can't move at all, in fact, because I aced both of the piles that are shit. Bloody hell. Okay, so the plan then is to get rid of this one, I guess. So we can pull the 5 through. A king there for traversal stake. We may as well just... Yeah, we want to spider up all of the blue cards to put on here. Okay, if we move the 9 to here for a moment, we can pull that. This 5 ends up down here for those reasons. trying to figure out a way to get a to temporarily get out of the ace's way, so I can move this ace out of here. But I actually don't really see a lot of opportunity to do that. I guess at this point I can stack this ace here. We can put this 5 over here. It's gonna be very problematic. Okay, because that's not what we do. We pick all this stuff up. And then lone ace sitting by itself is only movable through empty space. Pretty bad, pretty problematic actually. I mean, I could pick it up on here and then move it. Yeah, do this. Okay. And then... So now we have an empty slot here, and anything can move through an empty slot, which is brilliant. Put a king there. Hold on. I don't have a 3 to put you on directly. Can move the whole queen stack up here. Grab the ace to ferry that across to the corner. I know I'm creating these situations where I have a lot of lower numbered than I said I was hoping for cards in the middle, but you know, it's the hope is that it's all temporary, right? Like you're always trying to pull things out of the way. I don't have a way of temporarily holding... Oh, I do. Okay, hold on. If we move this 6 up here, I can temporarily hold the 9 there, allowing me to put the 8 on that. And then... Then I need either a king or an empty space to move this queen onto before I can get this queen out of the way. And that's a real shame. So I don't have... We can move this stuff to this side for the moment. And then this over to here. I guess I can move it over to here. I'm trying to figure out like what to do. I've created an ace wall. Getting access to your aces too early is like super dangerous in this game mode. Gosh, I wish I could get my 4 over here. I wish I could get the aces out of the damn way. If I had a 6 to pick up, or like even just a way to get this 4 off the stack so I could come and scoop stuff up with this. Am I doomed? Well, yeah. Because I could do this. I move the 3 to here. Move. It doesn't let me move the 5 across. It would let me move the 3 across, which isn't actually helpful. Apologies for the quiet. I'm just trying to make any sense at all out of the situation I've built myself into. So I have nothing to do with the spare 9-8 though. I'm looking at ways to get this king out of here, right? Because the fact that we have an actual logical string, Queen Jack down, does give us some interesting freedoms as far as like the ability to break the stack up really easily and stuff. I just have to figure out how to wield those freedoms. One thing I can do, I suppose, is I can start pulling this stack apart in interesting ways. So we can move this 5 to here. We can move the 3 to here. Does that help? No, it doesn't help. I'm still trying to construct a situation where the blue stuff ends up down here, where we're able to grab our 4. So if I move all this over, and then I move this over, we almost have the ability to... I can't get the 5 out of the way. So I want to get this 5 clear so badly. Well, I suppose one thing that's interesting is that we have the 3 here. So we can move this onto a 4. Which means, actually, I can run this 5 up this way. And then... these can end up over here. The parts of the red stack being in opposite corners, that was very problematic. It's very, very difficult to resolve. Okay. If we do this, I need to move a 3 onto it and pull this 5 to here. That allows me to put this 4 in there, which when I put all this stuff back means I can assemble the 3, 4, 5 here. And now I'm showing queen in this corner. Meaning, sadly, we still can't, still can't quite move big enough stuff through the corner. We're getting the stacks untangled, but it's not always to a large enough degree to be beneficial. Okay, so there's my blue queen. If we move... Oh, it's so frustrating that this stack is... The jack is buried beneath the queen in that stack. This stack goes to 10 and leaves a queen showing. It's tough to move queens around here. And a lot of queens that I can pick up, but not a lot of queens that I can actually get out of their spaces. So you would just need to be... Yeah, you just need one of these two spots to be emptied, basically. Which is not going to happen. But that's the only way I can get through this queen as well. So we can make space through the corner a little bit here by pulling down some of our blue cards, which would allow us to rotate yellow cards. Like, I could move that whole set down there. And then we could pick the queen up and put it here, and that does create the empty space that I needed. Which allows me to, like, queen to there, 9 to here. Sorry that I'm, like, a little slower on the uptake on this one. I'm just slower on the uptake. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so we can break this set in a lot of places. This set can break at 8 and allow anything less than that to pass. So we do have 3s down to 4s here. Yeah, just have big cards, desperate to get through. Right? That's probably right. Like, get the king sorted. So I have this weird stack up here. We can move, if we can get this 6 clear. Trying to think, like, so we can move some cards down, which would allow us to move some cards down, which would allow us to move some cards down, right? The problem is I can't get the 9 or the 8 past the 6. We can pull these up to here for a moment because I'm missing my 7 at the moment. this stack doesn't actually move back in that direction. And we don't have our 8 here. We have our 10, but I can't get to the jack because I don't have any place to seat the 9 temporarily. But we have this 7 allowing us to seat this 9 temporarily here, which lets me then I need a 10. Right, and then I can't move the 9 past the 9. Shoot. My green 10's over here. That's not the spot that goes in. Damn it. You do this. And then so let's pull this 6 down to here. Yeah, and if there was a 7 on this pile, I could pull the 6 down to here and then move the whole 9 up and like... The untangling it's occurring, but it's slow. Do I have a place where I could seat? 5s are kind of awkward. But I can move this 7 to here, then move this 4 back to there, put this 6 there, allowing me to move this 9 up to here. The 7 comes back across to grab the 8. It's like that damn puzzle with the rabbit and the canoe and the fox. In a very, like, if you really don't think about it too hard kind of way. Okay, so let me do this. That. Bring you over to here for a second. Pull you out of the puzzle. Bring you back to your home so that we can reassemble this. So that I can then move this to here. We actually, during that exercise, almost cleared a pile. I need to... There we go. There we go. Slowly but surely, she's learning how to manipulate the puzzle. So. Three. Is there a way to rotate stuff around here? This is so strange when you really get right down to it. This is a very weird way to do a puzzle. Problematic. Yeah, my breakpoints are uneven. Okay, hold on a second. Let me think. So what I want to do really is I just want to pull this 7 into the green pile. If I had my... I can't move any of that shit. Ah. So we can pull the 6 down to here, but then I can't move the 7 over it. So you end up... If I pull, I don't have a 5, which is inconvenient as hell. Because the 5's there. Which is not where it needs to be. Oh, but you know what? That has... Sorry. I do have my 7. Or I do have a red 6, which allows me to do some movement here. So... If we... Sorry, I keep having to reset things, partially just to keep them straight in my brain, which is definitely slowing this process down. Making a path for something as large as a 7 to move. Not entirely trivial. So I want to pick up the 7 and move with it. So move the 6 over here. I don't have a 6 that I can move up here, but I do have the blue queen. Just unrelated, but maybe a problem that needs to get resolved. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me resettle this. Let me just put things kind of back where they go, because I'm all discombobulated now. All right. I need to get that 7. I need to clear this stack. This is the most important thing, right? That 5 is taunting me. So if I could get the 7... Honestly, the red pile being the way it is causing a huge lot of problems. It being broken up into 2 pieces in a way that I don't seem to be able to resolve. And I'm looking at the board right now, trying to figure out, like, can I pull... Yeah, like... And that lets me bring back the 4 here. This lets me bring back the 7 here. Now, unfortunately, the 8 is kind of in our way. If I could bring back at least the 7 to here. Now the question is, can I make even more of that happen? Like, we can move this 7 onto there. Move this 6 up to here, move this 7 onto there. Allowing us to not be able to move more. Why was this helpful in my head? Everybody in the audience asking the same question. What did she think she was accomplishing? Okay, that gives me the latitude to move much larger cards over, right? And then we can move the 7 back to here. But now, how do I get the things back to their homes? We can move this to here. We can move this to here, then come down and just get our queen, which lets me pull this whole stack back to here. And now we've got back to our homes, but what if we did even better than that? Getting that queen pulled out is nice. How do I get... The problem is that a king's like a pretty hard problem to solve. But we managed to achieve this at least. And then the easy solution to that as well, which is big. And then this gives me another empty slot. And I think what we do with that empty slot is just like move the whole diamond stack over to it immediately. And now we have an empty slot in a place where we can actually move shit through it. Or alternatively, maybe we move this to here, this to here. Is that helpful to do? Great question. Hard to say. So that would allow me to pull... Oh, sorry, what am I doing? 3, then 4, then 5, then Joker. This king goes here. Wait. Then this goes here, then this... Nope, grab the whole stack. Spade comes down here, you get that. Oh, now move that whole stack to there. Boom. Boom, she says loudly for reasons she's not 100% clear on. Okay, so... Move this whole stack over here. We can glom up the rest of these blue cards. Place you on there. And then... Get this 10 out of the way. Nope. 10 onto Jack, Jack onto Queen, Queen onto King, this onto here. 9 onto 10, and that took forever. Apologies. I got a little caught up in the towers, but I got there eventually. At first, it was definitely a process of sort of like feel, as I'm sure you could tell. I eventually came to understand what I was doing, but I had to feel my way into the solution first, and sometimes that's what it is. Like you can get a sort of like a partial intuitive grasp of a solution, the aesthetics of a solution, the shape of it, before you have a real understanding of why that would be the solution in the first place. And it's an important place to be able to start. That's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I feel pretty good about that episode in the end. We managed to knock out Lock Solitaire, and it's just smooth sailing ahead. I'm sure they're only going to get easier and more comprehensible from here. So when you come back next time, we're taking on more stuff, all new stuff. I'm really excited to get toward the end because the symbols on the cards start looking weirder and weirder as we go. We're through all of the ones that I would argue look kind of normal. Well, not all of them, but you know, anyway. We'll get there, and it'll be fun. I hope y'all are having fun. Come back next time for more fun, and we'll see you then.